Welcome to On Texas Football. It's time for Second Watch with the Rod Babers, sponsored by our friends over at Duck Camp, duckcamp.com. Rod, I got to ask you, the Longhorns looked good yesterday, not great. We described it as sloppy yesterday with you, myself, Brian Robeson. You went back and watched the tape a second time today. And let's start off with you've given me a list of things going. But you said Arch now has what you call some X-Man qualities that are being defined right now. What do you mean by X-Man qualities, I guess?
X-Men qualities to me is what I would always try to identify that in my QBs, right? What does my QB do as well, if not better than everybody else? You know, what's the assets in their skill set as a QB? And I do think now, you know, based on obviously seeing Arch last season and seeing him now through two starts against one high-level opponent on the road against Ohio State and San Jose State, I think there are some things that I in my opinion, I can verify and say this is a strength, an X-Men quality, something he does at a high level, even comparing him to his peers. And I think the deep ball is in that category. The Pro Football Focus has his deep passes. Those are passes of 20-plus yards or more. They had him at 4 of 8 in this past game against San Jose State, had him at 3 of 6 in the game against Ohio State. So he's at 50%, which is a crazy number. I got to go look and see where he is compared to his peers.
What was Quinn Ewers a year ago?
Quinn usually at his best was around 30, a little over 33%. Between 30 and 33%. He really didn't get higher than that. And that's usually closer to the average of your deep ball completion rate. 50% is considered really damn good because 20 yards or more down the field. Yeah. Obviously, that is a low completion, that is a kind of a low percentage pass in terms of completion percentage. And he's good. He missed, I think, a couple of them in that game that he probably could have hit. So I think that's the strength of him. I think also another strength, I think he's the scrambling ability, something we knew was going to be an asset. I talked about that being the best cheat code in football right now. He's great scrambling. I think he has 6 scrambles right now on the season and 3 first downs among those in terms of rushing first downs for him. But he had that scrambling touchdown, the 20-yarder against San Jose State, which looked really good. And he showcased a little bit of scramble drill. There was a couple of, now one was dropped, I think, by Jordan Washington. Another was called back. It was a really good, 30-plus yarder scramble drill to Parker Livingstone, called back, I think, because of a holding penalty on that one. He had a really nice one to Ryan Wingo on the sideline in the scramble drill. That was that one, maybe that was to Winston, maybe late. Yep. Where he had to redirect and get out of the pocket, and he found him. He's going to tell you that's going to be a weapon. They got to practice it more, but that will be a weapon for Texas. Also, sack avoidance to go along with mobility. Guys, last year, his pressure to sack number, I was really worried about. It was at 26.9%. That's a really high number. Quinn was at 23%, to give you a little context. This year, guys, he's at 7.4% pressure to sack percentage. That's really low. You want that number to be low for your QB, because now there's a belief analytically that sacks are a QB. A lot of it is a QB stat. It's them holding on to the ball too long.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and he does. I mean, even though we've seen him obviously look uncomfortable in the pocket, he does a good job of limiting the sacks, which is limiting negative plays for your offense. So I like that, and I think he's really good. My last thing, I think he's good at straight drop back. I talked about this in the game versus Ohio State. His best throws were in straight drop back situations. He was completing over 60% of his passes versus Ohio State in straight dropbacks, excluding, if you were just excluding including obviously sacks and scrambles, but excluding screens and RPOs and play action passes versus Ohio State, he was at 6.6 yards per play. Texas was, when he just dropped straight back with no RPOs, no play action pass. I went and looked at his Pro Football Focus numbers. Straight drop back situations. So take away the RPO. This is his Pro Football Focus grade. No play action pass. It's at 92.7. It's his offensive Pro Football Focus grade without play action pass. His offensive passing grade is 93.5 without play action passes. Without screens, he's at 84 and 80, but with screens, 68 and 68, and with play action pass, 47 and 38. Pro Football Focus grades. He is better straight drop back. I'm telling you, go back. And Sark in this game has started to implement some quick game straight drop back. That was one we got to Ryan Wingo, little 10-yard curl. More of that. All right. He's got the arm strength for it, and he's really comfortable just dropping straight back. So those are some of the things I think he's just really, really good at naturally. He'll get good at the other stuff too. But in Sark's offense, where he has a lot of amplifiers, play action pass, and RPOs, he's going to get better at that. But a lot of that is the footwork, and you got to have that aligned with, the routes downfield, and then your eyes, and then sometimes you got to turn your back to the defense. I think that makes him a little jittery. But when he's just straight dropping back and can see the defense, those are some of his best reads and best throws.
So what you're saying, just to synopsize this, you have the long ball as a strength. It's kind of shown itself. You have sack avoidance as a deal, as well as scrambled ability, and then also just straight drop back. He's got to improve in some others. You mentioned that straight drop back. I will say this, according to Pro Football Focus, Arch Manning was the top-rated offensive player for the Longhorns on Saturday, according to Pro Football Focus grade. So, look, he's gonna. We talked about this. He accounted for 5 touchdowns yesterday. I mean, he is a good young quarterback. He's just improving. Let's watch him improve over the next couple of weeks, and then get into SEC play. The one thing I liked about him, and when I rewatched it, I didn't see a lot of the same mistakes we saw against Ohio State. And that means you're improving in more ways than just actual completions. You're not having repetitive problems, Rod. And that tells you the ceiling, just saying this, ceiling could be even a little higher in some ways for him. I think I saw one missed crosser, for example, where he
Ryan Wingo one, right?
Yeah, exactly. But not many compared to the first game. I mean, he hit Jack Indries on that touchdown pass over the middle that I thought was beautiful pass.
The switch route?
Yes.
Yeah, on the empty. Yeah, that was beautiful. That was nice. Hey, that was kind of a Gunnar Helm special.
Yes.
That was interesting in this game, too. You saw, remember we talked about this, right? It's like Sark's got to break out some of those staples so these guys can get used to executing the Sark staples that we've seen for years. And what did we see? The wide delay, right? With the tight end, he runs the drag wheel route. We saw that. We saw the play that Parker Livingstone scored on. We've seen that time and time again. Where it's kind of a flood concept that gives you 3 layers to it. We've seen that a lot too. So I just think that you got to get used to some of those Sark staples, and so they can execute them at a high level. And they did in this game too. We saw a lot of them.
All right, we've got a couple more things we want to go over here. Targets to bunch. What you think of the 12 personnel and what Sark showed in the red zone with the 4 tight end personnel group. Nice. We also want to talk about San Jose State targeting certain DBs. Before we go there, though, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, duckcamp.com. I got to tell you about these guys. They gave away a $200 gift certificate at our tailgate on Saturday. Gavin Garland, congratulations. I got your email, and you will be getting that. They've also set up something else special for On Texas Football folks. Use the code ONTexas25, no spaces in between those, ONTexas25, and you get 25% of all Duck Camp gear currently available there. That is ONTexas25 at duckcamp.com. They have been a great partner for us. They're welcome back here in 2025 football season. Appreciate them very, very much. Again, duckcamp.com. Use promo code ONTexas25. They'll also be giving away another $200 gift certificate at this coming weekend's tailgate. Hope to see you guys out there. All right, Rod, let's go on. I want to talk to you about Nick Townsend and that block he made. He blew a guy up. It was amazing. And also his role in red zone and what Texas is doing there, because we saw some 4 tight end look in the red zone for the Longhorns.
Yeah, Sark is on the record saying tight end, second most important position in his offense behind quarterback. And we never saw I didn't know when we'd see a 13 or a 14 personnel grouping, but we saw it second game versus San Jose State. Hadn't seen that in the Sark era really. Just a 14 personnel grouping, and Nick Townsend, the one they scored on, he ends up being the fullback in that situation, and they end up going in to score. And with his blocking ability, you talked about it. He just has a physicality, a natural. He's a true freshman. All right, so we haven't even added the armor and all that yet. This is just this natural mentality that he plays with. I think he might be your cowboy back. Remember they brought in James Coach McIndoe from Oklahoma State, and they had him see the cowboy back, which is a hybrid between a fullback and a tight end. And honestly, Nick Townsend might be it, because he seems to be, Jack Henry blocks really well too, but I don't know if any of your tight ends has the physical mentality, the mentality of physicality, I should say, that Nick Townsend has. So I think he's carving out a role for himself already as a guy. When they need to blow somebody up or they need to blow something up, let's put that young man in there. So I love it. I think it's great. And they need more options at tight end anyway. And they showed that in this game too. So I was wrong. By the way, 12 personnel, Sark, I'll give Sark credit. Maybe Sark sometimes listens to the shows and he wants to prove me wrong. I said they should use more 21 personnel and less 12 personnel because they weren't getting anything out of it versus Ohio State. And I was right. They only averaged a little over 3 yards per play versus Ohio State. I think they had one completion out of 12 personnel. Well, in this game, 12 personnel led the way. Bobby, all your most explosive plays came out of 12 personnel. 83-yard touchdown to Livingstone, 36-yard touchdown to injuries on the wide delay, 42-yard Livingstone reception, 22-yard reception to Washington, 33-yard to Winston, all in 12 personnel. So my apologies, Sark, on the 12 personnel thing. You can make it explosive when you want to. We ain't got to throw that out, throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one.
Hey, what about the red zone? What did you see in the red zone that they tried to do different? We only got one true look at it, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything else was from distance. They went to a 4 tight end set at times there, right?
Didn't work at first when they tried to go to it, but when they put Townsend in as that fullback, it seems like that made a little bit of a difference. So it'll be interesting to see because Sarkis talked about going under center more. Going under center with power looks like that from power formations with power personnel groupings. Maybe that's his answer in the red zone. We know that he's experimenting with different things to see if it works. Maybe that's something that you can find some consistency with in the red zone, because that's the problem, guys. It's not that you haven't had any success. You've had success, but it hasn't been something that you can count on consistently. It's always pretty random. It's something, something that pops up every game based on the matchup, and that's great, but you need an identity in the red zone, something you can hang your hat on. I think that's what Sark is looking for. Maybe this is it.
All right, let's talk a little defense now, if you don't mind, Rod. San Jose State, you wrote, targeted certain DBs, and that Texas doubled down on a commitment to a 3-high defense. That was made popular by Iowa State, actually. Yeah. What did you see first, let's start with the bigger issue there, I think. Doubling down on a commitment to a 3-high safety look. Is that because of the personnel they have and Taff, as well as McDonald and Grayson Little? I mean, what is it that they're doing there that says, hey, they're doubling down on this look?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually so surprised that it took me forever to go back and track it, because I'm thinking to myself, am I looking at this and seeing 3-high when it's not 3-high shell? So I took pictures of it, which I can send to you. But early on in the game, I swear they were utilizing a lot of 3-high shell, like purposefully the shell of the defense basically being the pre-snap look of the defense, and then late rolling to their coverage responsibilities, rolling to a single high, rolling to 2 deep or inverted 3-high. And they would do it late, but they would start in a shell. A 3-high shell, even with Grayson Littleton in there, they would start that way. And I was surprised how often I saw it early on in that game. Seemed to be definitely part of the game plan against San Jose State. And like I said, I saw it against Ohio State a lot. And we're talking about now close to 20%. Of your defensive snaps, you're playing this 3-high shell coverage, or at least a 3-high shell as a presentation, your pre-snap look before you roll into whatever you roll into. And by the way, when they roll into it, they roll into single high. This is a single high team. I mean, they were single high. You're getting close to some of those Arizona numbers now. I mean, they were single high 70-something% of the time.
Wow.
And they, same thing with Ohio State, man, they were single high a lot. And that's what they are pretty much right now. They go to the 2-high, and a lot of times it's an inverted 3-high, and they'll go to the inverted Tampa look, and they'll invert Taff into the middle field defender. But they're not doing as much 2-high as they did a couple of years ago, man. Or even last year early on. Now you may get some of that later on in the season, but right now, if I had to look at Texas and classify them, I'd say they're a 65% single high team. Maybe.
What is that? Do you like that? Do you think it fits the personnel?
I think for them, they want to make sure they stop the run. They
Okay.
want to take away something initially. They want to take away the run. They want to start with, all right, let's make them one dimensional, and then we can work from there. We can figure out a way from there to solve whatever problems they're presenting to us. But let's do something initially, and that's they want to take away the run. And they were doing it obviously in prior years, obviously with PK, but they did it with, I think, D tackles that were more proven commodities. But now they got a good group of D tackles. But now I think ultimately they're doing it by bringing extra defender down too, to make sure that they got enough bodies in there to stop the run. But it's interesting. Like I said, it's an evolution. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. Well, it's scheme by strategy, or strategy by scheme. Basically,
Yeah.
what you're talking about. All right. Give folks a little bit of a feel what you mean by San Jose State trying to pick on a couple of DBs. It felt like, as I rewatched it, that Grayson Littleton was really targeted at one point in the game. 3 or 4 passes in a row went his way. What did you mean by them targeting certain DBs at Texas?
Yeah, Grayson Littleton was targeted the most. Now, Pro Football Focus has him being targeted like double-digit times. I don't know if it was that much, but they did target him a lot. And second most targeted was Gilbo, along with Jelani McDonald, according to Pro Football Focus. And I do think it was intentional. It seemed to me intentional, considering how much work those guys got, and especially Grayson Littleton. They wanted to go after the true freshman on the field. And by the way, Ohio State did the same thing.
Yep.
Until he proved himself, obviously worthy of their respect. And in this game, I think he had some snaps where his technique lapsed on him a couple of times. I think maybe his eyes got him in trouble a couple of times because they had a double move on him. So maybe his eyes were in the wrong spot. And Scudero, honestly, it's just a vet. He's just a savvy vet. And I believe Scudero was the one. I mean, they had that matchup the most. I think he had five receptions or something like that on Grayson Littleton. So I'm not criticizing those guys or saying, oh man, those guys played bad. I mean, Gilbo got an interception. Should have had 2, by the way. So Gilbo would have been on the winning side of this thing. I always say as a DB, you got to win. All right, you got to win more of those snaps, right? You're gonna get beat. Everybody gets beat. All right, but you got to make more plays than you give up. And for Gilbo, he was making plays on the football, getting his hands on the football. For Grayson Littleton, I don't know if he was making as many plays as he was giving up, and they missed like 2 throws that could have been disastrous potentially. Grayson Littleton on some of those deeper shots. So I think they were targeting those guys. And by the way, I think going forward, I think Gilbo and Grayson Littleton are probably going to get targeted. And I see why they targeted Jelani McDonald too, because he's your biggest safety. So if you're thinking about the safety that would be the liability in coverage, you're going to look at the guy that looks most like a linebacker. You know what? Let's go after that guy. So I do think going forward, that will be kind of a blueprint for teams. Anybody would attack a freshman, guys, at any position. That's no matter.
Well, let me ask you this. Mentioning how the scheme is changing a little bit or evolving with the 3 high commitment, as well as, Rod, what you're talking about with McDonald, as Littleton and Gilbo being targeted. I heard Coach Shipley, Jeff, and CJ give grades out from this game. But I wanted to ask you, you're a former Texas DB. How do you think the Texas secondary is performing right now? That was a team that threw the ball around a lot, and the quarterback at times looked really, really good. I thought he had a live arm, had a good set of receivers. What did you see, or what have you seen thus far from the secondary that you like or dislike?
In that game, I probably saw more I disliked.
Okay.
I thought guys didn't use leverage very well. Think about some of those short routes, those slant routes they ran, trying to get those first downs. To me, should have been obvious that you're going to have inside leverage on some of those routes, but I go back and look and see where the help was. But usually for DBs, usually you go with inside leverage to take away those easy completions. But to me, I thought they didn't play to the standard. They wouldn't play bad, but I thought that group could have played better. And maybe if Gilbo gets his hands on another interception, it's a little bit different. Maybe if Grayson Littleton, makes a couple of plays on the ball, it's a little different. But I thought they could have played better as a group. I thought listen, that quarterback EGAT, he played. I think you're right. He played well, but he missed some deep throws.
Yes, yep.
Could have really kind of changed the complexion of the game, and that's because they got behind Texas DBs a couple of times.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'll give him a B. I'll give him a B.
All right. I'm going to come back and ask you about overall thoughts of the game and the second time through, Rod, as well. But first, I want to say thank you once again to Duck Camp. Duck Camp is made for the people that live for the moments out there where there are fish to catch, birds hunt, time to kill, and football to watch. They like doing all that stuff, so they built this company centered on it, based in Austin and dedicated to giving people best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel. There are those of you out there that look forward to the opening day of hunting season and the kickoff of Longhorn football with the excitement of a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. Duck Camp is here to let you know that from opening day to game day, they've got you covered. Here's the great seasons, y'all. Yes, hunting and football. Shop duckcamp.com today. And once again, right now, they have a special offer. Use the code ontexas25. That's ontexas25 and get 25% off your order at duckcamp.com. All right, Rod, you watched it a second time. You feel better, worse, neutral, encouraged, discouraged? What's the verdict coming out of that San Jose State game?
I feel better about the team than I did after the first watch. Like I said, it's never as bad as you thought. It's never as good as you thought. But I feel better about it because now watching some of the issues, third down, I think is probably the thing right now that has me somewhat
third down and penalties, probably
penalties, and third downs and penalties right now.
And those can be mitigating factors for one another.
Agreed.
You get behind the chains because you get a holding call, etc.
Yep. No, you're right. That's no doubt. And Sark said he would get on the guys about the penalties. So I do feel like the penalty thing, that's just because they're a young team. And I feel as the season goes on, they'll get more experience and they'll get cleaned up. The third down thing is
problematic.
It was against Ohio State. Okay. It's like, all right, that's acceptable. That's a great defense on the road. Against San Jose State, you also struggle on third down. But like you said, getting behind the chains, third and longs, penalties, being your own worst enemy. So in this 3-game stretch here, obviously now they got 2 games. I need to have a good game in regards to third downs. And that hadn't happened yet before they get to Florida.
I think that one of the things we need to go look out, and this is just my opinion, first down success rate. I do not think Texas has been great on first down this season so far, for whatever reason, whether they just haven't got it all together right out of the gate or what have you. But I feel like Texas having some issues getting positive yards, true positive yards, where they're setting it up at 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5, as opposed to 2nd and 9, or you know what I mean. So that puts them behind the chains too, and makes them maybe a little more predictable on second down. So we'll see how it all goes. We'll see how it all goes. But I think that I like what you started with, because I do think Arch improved week over week. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think the institution of the tight end group, Nick Townsend's an added piece to the puzzle, Rod. We talk about that's what these games are for. Okay, so now we think this past game showed, okay, Texas has added a piece to the puzzle in Nick Townsend. Right. I mean, and then you talk about the third or the 3 high safety look as well. Bunch of stuff going on. All right, Rob, we're going to talk a little bit more later tonight on the live stream at 7:00 for Rod Babers, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchison, and for the folks over at duckcamp.com. Don't forget on Texas 25 for 25% off all their gear. I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good Sunday. Welcome, Horns.